Okay, this is 4 decades of literary influence in 4 minutes. These are not necessarily my favourite books or my favourite writers, although there is a lot of overlap. In my teens. This is a copy of Crime and Punishment. It is the copy my teacher gave me. I was 14, I read it, and I have never been quite the same since, and I wouldn't be a writer if it wasn't for this book. After that, I read a lot of French existentialism. Certain teenagers will do that. I was one of them. If we move into my late teens, I spent a lot of time reading Marcel Proust. He is the great analyzer of obsession and sexual jealousy, which in my late teens and early 20s was quite frankly what I was up to. I think he's the greatest psychologist we've ever had and makes Freud look faintly ridiculous. I was reading Proust, this is just volume 1, all the way through my late teens and my early 20s. And the one thing you discover when reading Proust is the long sentence, how one can write terrifically involuted and yet subtler and subtler sentences to really tease out the very depths of our hearts. So Proust, huge influence. Then somewhat Proustian also, and this is probably the most beautifully designed book I've ever seen. First edition given to me by my very good friend Valerie, The Runaway Soul by Hal Ramble. He was called the American Proust, but actually his wasn't about the sentence, his was about the impress of words, how you could press out of individual words deeper and deeper meaning and deeper irony. Just one of the most gifted prose stylists of all time. Then another philosopher, Martin Heidegger. Most of my late 20s I was reading Heidegger. He transformed how I thought about the world and transformed what I thought writing could achieve in terms of also being philosophy without being kind of about ideas, but being about, well, being, sein, as it is in German. So I spent a long time with Martin Heidegger. And then my 30s were mainly made up of Saul Bellow, and especially this novel. The beginning of this novel, the first 100 pages of this novel, hugely influential, because essentially it is beautifully written, but doesn't pretend to have any plot or any. I mean, it is of course there is a story, but the first 100 pages, essentially Saul Bellow goes on a train journey, arrives somewhere, and then goes. Well, Herzog goes on a train journey, arrives somewhere, and then goes back. And I like that words and characters don't have to do anything. 30s, the first poet to really change how I thought about writing and what I thought about my writing, Wallace Stevens, especially those late poems about light and sunlight and summer. I wouldn't be the writer I am without Wallace Stevens. In my 40s, James Salter. I discovered this in my 40s, and as I've said before, the second paragraph of the second chapter I think is the finest writing I've ever come across. And you cannot help but be influenced by writing that has that much effect on you, or you believe is that good. And then to finish, as all things do, they come around. I'm back to Dostoevsky. My last novel, which I've just finished, is both influence and a testimony and an homage, and couldn't be written without the influence of Dostoevsky. So that's 4 decades of literary influence in just over 4 minutes, in fact. I am 50 this month, and that is the reason I'm looking at this, doing this rather fast overview. As I said, not necessarily my favourite books, not necessarily my favourite writers, but there is a great overlap. And if I was to do my top 10 writers, they would always be in